The Democrats running for governor say their party hasn't done enough to make Colorado an affordable place to live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
Senator Michael Bennet and Attorney General Phil Weiser agreed on that in tonight's 9 News debate. I'm Phil Lipoff. Good evening. Kyle Clark moderated the debate at the University of Denver. Kyle, some sharp disagreements tonight, though not on that particular issue.
Yeah, Senator Michael Bennet and Attorney General Phil Weiser disagreed over who's been more effective in taking on the Trump administration. They disagreed over who has more detailed plans to be governor. They share a lot of the same policy positions. But they agreed tonight that their party, Democratic Party, which has controlled Colorado for years, has lost touch with some working class voters and with young people in large part because of this state's affordability crisis.
My answer is we need new leadership in Colorado. My answer is this is completely unacceptable. When I used to be the superintendent of schools, I had faculty meetings every day in schools near the one we're in today, and I never met a teacher who didn't live in Colorado or who didn't live in Denver. And now you can't live in Denver if you're a teacher. And if you live on the western slope of Colorado in the Roaring Fork Valley, the only way a teacher can afford to live there is if they win the housing lottery that their school district is running. So until we address this issue of people working hard and not being able to have the American dream for their kids, I think we're going to continue to see the rise of Trumpism in America. And that's what we have to fight.
If you're a firefighter or a police officer, it's important that you can afford to live in your community. That's what people deserve. That's not the case right now. What I will do is build a plan so that we can have starter homes that are affordable by incentivizing the types of homes we need. Right now, if you build a mega mansion or a starter home, the permitting fee is the same. The time to get the permit's the same. We need to change that. We need to make sure we're incentivizing townhomes, more density, condominiums, and we need to make sure we have down payment assistance so those teachers and those firefighters, nurses can afford to buy those homes.
Bennet and Weiser disagreed over the tactics that each has taken against the Trump administration. Weiser said that Bennet had voted for too many of Trump's cabinet nominees, people that he said went on to do harm to Colorado, like pulling SNAP food benefits and clean energy funding. Bennet said the easy thing for him to do would be just to vote against all of Trump's nominees. He said that the harder and smarter thing to do is instead to build relationships with some of these folks so that he can try to get things of value for Colorado, like firefighting resources. Bennet took issue with some of the legal battles that Weiser has picked against the Trump administration, essentially saying that Weiser was missing in action during the first Trump term. But Bennet did not say that there were any of Weiser's 65-some lawsuits against Trump now that he takes issue with.
And Kyle, one of the questions you asked them is what of Colorado's problems are not Donald Trump, the president's fault?
Yeah, and you know, when I said that the race sometimes seems like both of them are running against each other and Donald Trump and how much they can blame on him, that's something that I certainly hear a lot from voters across the political spectrum. Michael Bennet really did not like that characterization of the race. He pushed back strongly and said, no, this race is about affordability, it's about cost of living and making Colorado a better place to live. And Attorney General Weiser pointed to a number of things that he's been involved in, like working on the fentanyl epidemic, to say there are problems that are outside of the sphere of blame that they're trying to place on President Trump, and those are things that they're working on as well. But it's clear, obviously, that the Trump administration has a great impact on what happens in Colorado, and they're both very vocal opponents, and that matters a lot to Democratic primary voters.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of space between the two of them, so the substantive debate, the questions you and Marshall asked, were really good because it drilled down and to the micro aspects of what both of them believe, and that's going to be important when the race is this close.
Yeah, I mean, these are guys that don't differ a ton on policy. They're from roughly the same wing of the same political party. Given the fact that Republicans have only elected one governor in Colorado in the last 50 years, there's a very good chance that the winner of the Democratic primary is going to become Colorado's next governor. It's open to Democratic and unaffiliated voters. If you're thinking about voting in the race, I'd encourage you to watch the entire hour-long commercial-free debate on 9news.com or on the next YouTube channel to get a better sense of both men.
All right, Kyle. Thanks so much. Just a quick reminder for you, we also have the only televised debate between the Democrats vying for a chance to face Republican Representative Gabe Evans in the super competitive 8th Congressional District. State Representative Manny Rutinel and former State Rep Shannon Byrd will debate here on 9 News. That is this coming Monday at 6 p.m.
It was a nice day to get outside. Plenty of people did at Chatfield Reservoir. They're eager to get to big bodies of water. More hot weather is on tap for tomorrow and the day after that. And after that, 9 News Chief Meteorologist Kathy Saban is joining us now. It sounds like we're going to close in on 90 tomorrow.
Yeah, that could be the first 90 of the season if that happens, Kim. I know some of us aren't quite ready for that, but a beautiful evening in Denver after a nice day and a welcome reprieve from severe weather we've seen day after day this week. There's a slight chance that we could see a shower late tonight or early tomorrow, but the trend is for warming and drying, and we're still mild. 10:05, temperatures in the low to mid 70s in downtown Denver this evening. So skies are starting to clear, winds are starting to come down, pretty gusty over the foothills a time ago. And I've been watching the radar in northeastern Colorado. Still the potential for a strong, if not severe storm from Sterling out to Ogallala and into the Julesburg area. We've had some rain and lightning and wind, but nothing severe, no hail. And that is just wonderful news. A couple of isolated showers in the foothills. We're going to see this play out again tomorrow. The moisture is very limited, severe threat very low. And I think depending upon how much cloud cover we get, temperatures will come very close to 90, the first of the season. So for the next few hours, temperatures are comfortable in the 60s, and your weather headlines include those isolated showers. We'll check the radar again and then look ahead to your weekend forecast. Temperatures in record territory on both days. So we'll cover all of that in detail in just a bit.
Kathy, thank you. A case many thought was over may now actually be headed back to court.
Yeah, the Colorado Court of Appeals threw out the criminally negligent homicide convictions of the 2 former paramedics convicted in Elijah McClain's death. 9 News reporter Rhea Shaw spoke with an advocate close to the McClain family about what this means to possibly go through this process all over again, Rhea.
Yeah, Kim, and Elijah McClain's family hasn't officially made any sort of statement, but the advocate we spoke with said this is a family that is trying to heal. And with both former paramedics on probation, she's wondering why should this family have to go back to court and hear this all again? And Schaffner remembers the courtroom.
I did sit in the courtroom. I held Shanine's hand,
where she sat next to Elijah McClain's mother for 3 weeks as jurors heard how Elijah was stopped by police, restrained, and injected with ketamine before he died.
We hurt together when we heard and watched the scene of that horrific night play out. I don't know why we are asking this family to relive that pain. Why?
Paramedics Jeremy Cooper and Peter Chikuniak were convicted of criminally negligent homicide in that trial back in 2023. This week, those convictions were reversed.
As we are right back here to the starting line of a story that should have never existed.
The appeals court ordered new trials for both paramedics, saying the jury was not given clear enough instructions before they deliberated on the criminally negligent homicide charges.
I don't understand why Peter Chikuniak or Cooper, for that matter, would want to be retried in this case. Neither one of them are serving behind bars.
Cooper was sentenced to 14 months in jail with work release and probation. Chikuniak received 5 years in prison, but in 2024, his sentence was reduced to 4 years of probation.
Justice looks hopeless right now. I haven't ever said that before.
Now, nearly 7 years after Elijah McClain died, his family and community may be pulled back into a courtroom again.
We will be in court. There will not be an empty seat in those pews. Shanine McClain is an expert in a story that none of us want to star in. And I can't believe we are asking her again to walk this impossible journey. This is not right.
Chikuniak's second-degree assault conviction for the unlawful administration of drugs still stands. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser said his office does plan to appeal this decision. So the question of whether these former paramedics will be retried still is unsettled. Reporting live in Denver, Rhea Jha, 9 News.
The Montbello Rec Center will reopen on Monday. It has been closed in the 2 weeks since a 14-year-old boy was killed there. Mikhail Payne died after being shot in that building on May 21st. Police later arrested a 15-year-old boy for the shooting. Since then, city leaders have been walking a pretty fine line of working to support community members traumatized by the shooting while understanding that this rec center is a vital resource.
I wanted to be intentional about giving folks the opportunity to grieve, to process, and not just to thrust our community members, our youth, those that use the recreation center, or the staff back into that space without being intentional about what it means to put folks back into that space.
Denver Parks and Rec says the center will reopen at the same time that summer programs are set to begin. City leaders are holding a healing event on Sunday to prepare the community for the reopening.
Colorado is now under a statewide drought emergency.
Yeah, the governor made that announcement today, citing our record low snowpack and prolonged warm weather. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez joins us now from the state capitol after Colton, talking to an expert and getting some insight on this?
Yeah, Phil, so I spoke to a former state climatologist, and what she did was she basically broke down not only how we got here, but also what that emergency declaration means for everybody here in Colorado.
This one is so unique.
A unique season with 93% of Colorado under moderate or severe drought.
In terms of comparing to the 2012 drought, we had the heat from that, but even hotter. And then in terms of the 2002 drought, we had the low snowpack, but even lower.
That's what pushed Democratic Governor Jared Polis to declare a statewide drought emergency. But the low snowpack is only part of the story. This water year is also the warmest on record. Is the drought more about a lack of snow, or is the heat really the villain here, or is it a little bit of both?
I would say it's a little bit of both.
Becky Bollinger, a former assistant state climatologist for over 7 years, she says Governor Polis' declaration gives Colorado tools it didn't have before, including the ability to ask Washington for help.
It really kind of opens up to say, we're in a state where we might need some federal resources to help support us as we get through this.
At what point in this drought does it become like a drinking water crisis for Colorado communities?
I would say it is an extremely low likelihood that we would ever have to worry about drinking water.
But even in a crisis unlike any other,
we are actually a really smart state when it comes to water.
A unique state facing a uniquely challenging year.
And I feel like we have a lot larger amount of the population that knows that this is a finite resource.
Becky tells me now what we can do for all of us as best practices is cutting out, or at least limiting, a lot of that outdoor watering, which also means running those sprinklers for longer than we need to. Now, as we already know, there are places all across the state that already have water restrictions in place, just like right down here in the metro. Live in Denver, Colton Chavez, 9 News.